Here's your mission if you choose to accept it. You can only keep one game from each console. So what would that game be and why? So here I am again looking at another 5 games from each of my systems that if for whatever reason I could only keep one game, these are the games I would keep. Starting off with the PlayStation 2 and Jak and Daxter, the precursor Legacy. I have to admit, I didn't like the Crash Bandicoot games on the original PlayStation, and I was a bit worried about getting this game because of the fact that it was made by Naughty Dog, and the Crash Bandicoot games were insanely hard. But when it came out, I just loved the graphical style of this game. It's nothing like the Crash Bandicoot games. I think they learnt their lesson. It was so much adventure exploring in this game, and the loading times, there never seemed to be any loading times once you booted it up, which was really insane for the PlayStation 2. But we come to expect that now of Naughty Dog, to what they're able to do with each console that Sony presents to them. But this would be, I've got a good collection of PlayStation 2 games, and this was a no-brainer for me. This stood out a mile, and it is a great classic action adventure game with 2 cartoon style characters. I feel and it's a fantastic game, way better than the other games in the series, I think. Okay, so let's move on to the original Xbox. Again, this was a no-brainer for me. I only got a small collection of Xbox games at the moment. I do want to rebuild that, but the game that stands out to me was the main reason why I got the original Xbox, and I was there at the midnight launch to get Halo along with Jet Set Radio Future. Halo, I took it back the next day. I didn't like it, but man, I played this game to death. It was one of my favorite games on the Dreamcast, Jet Set Radio. I think in America it's called Jet Grind Radio. I love the music in both of these games, and I would search the soundtracks on Pirate Bay and other websites, to download them, free. But it's a great game. The cel-shaded graphics, it's way better than the first game, I feel. The first game had a timer. You didn't have this one. You had more time to explore your environments, which was really cool. Characters are great. Music, it had a lot of style for its time, and this was when Sega were true innovators in the video gaming industry. It was a phenomenal game. I'll never forget it. Now moving on to the original PlayStation. I've got a couple of games in the PlayStation collection. I do want to rebuild it again, just the same as the Xbox, but there's only one game that stands out, and it is, it was the only game I kept in the collection. I got rid of all my original PlayStation games many years ago, decades ago. I could not part ways with this, and this is the original copy I bought of Tomb Raider featuring Lara Croft. By far probably one of my favorite games of all time, and just as I said, I got rid of the collection. I did keep this one, so if it happened again, there's no way I would ever get rid of Tomb Raider. Just so many great memories. That game just seemed to go on forever and ever and ever. It was an incredible game. I loved it so much. And let's go on to PlayStation Vita. Now, I've got a collection of, 127 Vita games, and there's a lot of great stuff in the collection there. But one game that stood out for me, and it's the reason why I bought the PlayStation Vita, and it was Uncharted Golden Abyss. Now, if I had to get rid of everything else, I don't mind, but this is a very special Uncharted game. I didn't think that, I think it was made by, Bent Studios, who done a couple other games for Sony. Days Gone, I think, is their latest game. I got to double check that. But what they're able to cram into the PlayStation Vita, as I think it was a launch title, great way to try and sell the Vita, but for some reason it never really took off. This is a great game that I would love to see remastered on the PlayStation 4. It would be incredible to be able to play that, remastered on the PlayStation 4. Nolan North is back to do the voice of Nathan Drake. It's an incredible game for what is a handheld system. And to finish this off, now I've only got 4 games in the collection at the moment. I want to rebuild the Dreamcast collection. And I was racking my brain about this because out of the 4 games, there's 3 amazing games there. But for me, one game did really stand out. I'm always been a huge fan of RPGs. I got to admit, Phantasy Star Online released on the Dreamcast. I was really hyped for it. I hated it. I didn't like the online features. So I was always looking for a really decent RPG on the Dreamcast. And I got to say, Skies of Arcadia was it fit the bill for me. It was an incredible RPG by Sega. I think it would later be released on the GameCube, which we never thought that was going to happen back then. We didn't ever dare think that Sega would, stop making consoles and just focus on software development for other companies. That was the furthest from our minds when the Dreamcast came out. But because of the events that happened, yeah, they stopped making the consoles. But why this game never got a proper sequel after all of these years, I just can't fathom why Sega just keeps bombarding us with Sonic the Hedgehog games when they have such a vast library of characters, franchises at the disposal. Please bring back Skies of Arcadia, Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi. There is so many. Phantasy Star, a proper RPG. Phantasy Star, none of this online stuff. Give us some of these franchises. Alec Kid, they got so many characters. Shinobi, the list goes on and on. Just give us something like that. But out of the 4 Dreamcast games that I got, it was a toss-up between this one and Tomb Raider: Last Revelation. But because I am a huge fan of the RPGs, and this was a great RPG on the Dreamcast, and I think I don't know, these things now must be expensive. I'm pretty sure about that. Anything to do with Dreamcast, people are scooping them up, and that's what's inflating the prices. But there was no way I would ever get rid of this game. It was a great game for its time, and it was one of those RPGs that is always stuck in my mind. And that is it. That is the 5 games in this collection that I would keep for each of these consoles. I'll do one more video which I've started looking at the collection and I'm like, it's even harder than this. This was a pretty easy group of games that I was able to pick. But when I'm looking at the Master System stuff, there's games there. I got the PlayStation Portable, I got Xbox One, and there's a few other systems I got to do on another video. And I'm actually racking my brain with some of those collections and which game would be the one game that I would keep. And I've got Mega Drive stuff to go through as well. So, oh man, that's why that one's going to take a little bit more time to really analyze what game means the most to me, and it may surprise you. I'm hoping. So that's it. 5 games that I would definitely keep. I had to get rid of these collections. All great games, I feel. So hey, thanks very much for watching. What games would you keep out of this in your collection? Just tell me that. What are your favorite? What games do you want to keep? So until next time, bye.